The commotion and the newness of Laura and Dan racing down the hill surprised us and kept us frozen in our tracks for a few seconds. Belle's yelping and baying brought us to our senses, but they had such a head start that even Cassie couldn't catch them before everyone got to the bottom. Laura and Dan were laughing so hard I thought they were going to get sick. We danced and pranced around them, and back up the hill we went. Now that we knew what was what, we took off back down the hill at the same time as them and ran patterns in and around them as they laughed and shouted, zooming down the hill once again. I can't recall how many times we went up and down the hill, but it was a thrill every single time. We almost got run over every now and then as we ran in front of their path, throwing caution to the wind. But the day ended without injury, and we all got back to the house safe and sound. Nothing left to do but get treats and huddle up next to the wood stove and get warm. The other memory that comes to mind was another game that was played in the snow, but I was always a spectator in this game. Cassie and Belle would play, but once again they had their own distinctive style when it came to the snowman game. That is what I used to call it at any rate. I'm pretty sure Dan started the snowman game with Cassie back in New Jersey. Dan would have Cassie sit. Don't worry about her poor little butt getting frozen to the ground. She would sit, but it was on her haunches, so her bottom made no contact with the snow. Anyway, after Cassie would sit, Dan would walk several paces away and begin to build a snowman. All through the building process, Cassie would twitch with excitement and anticipation, but would not leave that spot. When Dan gave the command, she would bolt from her spot and make a tremendous leap, always crashing upon and through the snowman that he had just constructed. She would stomp and roar just like Godzilla until the innocent snowman was no more. Upon completion, she would spin about and twirl and make all kinds of gyrations until Dan would do it all over again. Now, Dan followed the same processes and commands when it came to Belle's turn, but Belle, well, let's just say Belle was not Cassie. Sure, for the first few seconds, Belle sat as pretty as any dog ever sat. Maybe she could take it for 10 seconds. Maybe she lasted 20 seconds. I am not sure of the exact time, but I do know that by the time Dan ever got much more than the first few handfuls of snow piled on the ground, before the snowman could ever take form and become somewhat of a respectable snowman, Belle was already in a trot. The trot turned into a run, and instead of the graceful and beautiful leap that Cassie would launch into, she kind of just kept running and dropping her shoulder like a football player. She would steamroll, plow, crash, smash that small, not yet formed snowman into oblivion. Sometimes she would roll over what little was left just to make sure nothing remained. Cassie would look at her with a kind of sideways look as if to say, that is not the way the game is played.